bills considered here in the state of California? Well, the California Legislature recently concluded its 2024 session, and Governor Newsom finished acting on just over 1,200 bills that reached his desk this year. He vetoed 189 of them. So the first question is, are vetoed bills considered by legislators? The second question is, if so, can new legislators sworn into office this year on December the 2nd vote on those vetoed bills as well? Well, we'll get to the first answer, which is yes, but the answer to the second question is no. Let me explain. Article 4, Section 10A states in part that the governor may veto it, meaning the bill, by returning it with any objections to the House of Origin, which shall enter the objections in the journal and proceed to reconsider it. If each House then passes the bill by roll call vote entered in the journal, 2/3 of the membership concurring, it becomes a statute. As a result of these constitutional provisions, the governor has discretion whether to sign or veto a bill presented to the governor by the legislature. Likewise, the legislature can decide whether to vote to override a veto. It proceeds to reconsider it by considering the governor's vetoes in the Assembly and Senate daily files for a specified time period. And the act is discretionary if each House, whether the Senate, Assembly, or both houses will ultimately consider a gubernatorial veto. Now, in addition, the legislature imposes an actual time limit for considering a gubernatorial veto, and the Constitution comes into play in the second or even numbered year. So first, there's Joint Rule 58.5. It specifies that the legislature may consider a governor's veto for only 60 calendar days, not counting days when the legislature is in joint recess. And note that these are calendar days rather than session days, which means, of course, that weekends are also included and non-session days. As a result of the language in Joint Rule 58.5, and because the legislature is in joint recess in the fall after the first year, which again is the odd numbered year of session, the 60-day period for considering vetoed bills carries into January and often into early February of that second year. That is the even numbered year of session. However, does the same time period apply after the joint recess convenes or ends, in the second year of session? Well, recall in Article 4, Section 3A, it says in part that each session of the legislature shall adjourn sine die by operation of the Constitution at midnight on November 30th of the following even numbered year. So as a result of this constitutional provision, the legislature only has until November 30th to consider vetoed bills in the second and final year of the session. So in order to consider a vetoed bill in the second or even numbered year of the legislative session, the legislature would have to call itself back from joint recess in order to proceed to consider the vetoed bill. In this regard, Joint Rule 52 specifies in part that the legislature may be recalled from joint recess and reconvene in regular session by any of the following means. The last item I'll raise is the language used by each house of the legislature to consider a gubernatorial veto. In the assembly, it says the following language in the Assembly Daily File. It says, vetoed by governor, consideration of governor's veto pending. Legislature has 60 calendar days, not including periods of joint recess, to consider governor's veto, JR 58.5. Legislature adjourns sine die on November 30th, 2024. Shall this bill become law, notwithstanding the objections of the governor? On the other hand, shorter language is used in the Senate, so you find the following language in the Senate Daily File. Shall Senate bill, whatever that's specified, become a law notwithstanding the objections of the governor? It must be considered pursuant to Joint Rule 58.5, and that's it. So when the 2023-24 legislative session adjourned sine die on November 30th, 2024, the opportunity for the legislature to consider any gubernatorial veto from the 2024 session likewise ended. And so, of course, if that veto is not overridden, then the veto is sustained. And when the 2025-26 legislature convenes on Monday, December 2nd, 2024, the two houses, including about 36 new legislators, would not have any authority to consider any vetoed bills from the 2024 California legislative session.